Okay, it's a few minutes after the hour. I think we'll get started here as people continue to log on. Thank you, everybody, for joining our July webinar for the Lexus Difference. We're very excited to kick off this month with a very relevant and hopefully really valuable topic here for a lot of our dealerships that are tuning in. This is the voice of Danielle, and just going to quickly introduce our team here. We're going to have Sandy Rossner from headquarters, of course, joined by Renee Frazier for Frazier Communications. This is the voice of Danielle, and then we have Gia as well online, and then we will be also speaking with Cecilia from our Lexus social media department at headquarters. So we have a lot to cover today. We'll be going through the agenda shortly, but also wanted to be able to turn it over to Sandy to give a quick note from headquarters first. So Sandy, are you on?
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say welcome back. It's been a few months since our last webinar because we were trying to navigate COVID-19. Thanks for joining us today. I think you'll find today's webinar informative. We're happy that Cecilia from the social media team could join us.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Alrighty, so then as we just go through a quick agenda here, I know we have a lot to cover, so we'll just go through this. Looking ahead at the Lexus Difference program, how that might be structured a little bit differently for the year ahead, and then our main topic here, getting back to business during COVID-19. Very relevant topic, as Sandy was just noting. And then we have very exciting recap of our Lexus book drive and a highlight of Simple Feed, which is a free tool from social media at headquarters to help our dealerships and associates. So a lot of exciting stuff, and then some wrapping it up with program updates here. And then wanted to take a look ahead at what Lexus Difference will look like. And for those who have been participating in the Lexus Difference for the last several years, you can see that there's be a little shift in the schedule, but really our focus is to provide truly robust, relevant content. And since there is a lot of shift in our environment right now, we want to make sure that we are staying ahead of that and offering resources and tools and education and training and materials on topics that are things that you can tactfully act upon, and we can help you in real time. So with that, we have a new and updated webinar schedule and newsletter schedule. The July newsletter, for those who received it, went out at the beginning of this month in July. They'll be working in tandem with our webinars, which will be every other month. So you are joining the July webinar here, and the next one, of course, is coming up in September and so forth. A reminder that all assets will still remain on Lexus Learn. Lexus Learn is being updated with all new information on a real-time basis. So you'll see newsletter archives for those who are maybe new to the program. You can take a look at past newsletters, webinar YouTube playlist. All of our webinars, even today's, is going to be recorded, and some segments also might be recorded. So be sure to check back for shortened video content that can be shared with your associates or as training or reference materials in the future. Again, just a quick reminder, we have short videos, how-tos, dealer success stories, social media posts, a bunch of things on Lexus Learn, and that is fresh and updated. So please log into Lexus Learn for all of your TLD needs, and we'll continue to adapt content to meet your needs during COVID-19, which we will be jumping into our main topic in a moment. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Renee for some opening remarks into this discussion.
Well, hello everyone, and delighted to be here with you for our COVID-19 era as we talk about getting back to business during COVID-19. As many of you know, the Lexus Difference is really about elevating the guest experience and giving particular attention to the different audiences, the important emerging audiences in all of our markets. Today, we're going to walk you through some examples of what's being done during COVID-19 to bring people into the dealership for service and sales, and how to activate and use more of the online tools that we have. So let's get started. First thing we want to talk about is the Platinum Rule. And this is really something that we have talked about throughout the 5 years of the Lexus Difference. The idea is we want to not just treat people the way we want to be treated, but the way they wish to be treated. Many of us were raised with the golden rule, but this is all about now a higher level of mindfulness, knowing that you want to be sensitive to the way people want to be treated. It's across your operations, your communications, and as you build relationships with your guests. You want to be attentive to people's level of comfort and anxiety, certainly during the current conditions. We know at Metro and Akron Lexus, they are reserving those first 2 hours on the service drive to people over the age of 60 or those with pre-existing health conditions. A nice example of how you can modify your service to recognize the needs of your people. And I thought I'd start with an example. Yesterday, I took my LS 500 in for service and the recall for fuel pumps. And what I really liked about the way I was treated, the gentleman came up to my car to greet me, big smile. How are you today? How are you feeling? How are things? And I asked him the same thing. Very positive. He had his mask on, he had gloves on. I went through the process and they easily social distanced with me. There were even people in the lounge 6 feet from each other. But there was this positive, upbeat attitude, and it was very active in the service drive. And the last point I'll make is before I got in my loaner vehicle, I saw a gentleman wiping down and a woman wiping down the steering wheel, cleaning off the interior of the vehicle. So I felt very safe. And by the way, I paid extra to have the air conditioning, the intensive cleaning of the air conditioning and the filtration system because of COVID-19. Obviously, this is an important way to bring people into the dealership. It shows sensitivity, and it's something that's very relevant in today's era, certainly perceived to be important as a valuable way, not knowing who's been in your vehicle or what area you've been in. It's a great way to make sure your vehicle's in the best shape. So let's talk now about the guest experience in this time of COVID. And we want to talk to you about pivoting. As many of you have already done, we know we need to be online, right? As giving people the opportunity to purchase their cars and to set up their service appointments. 2 out of 3 people are more likely to buy a vehicle online, and it's because of COVID-19. And we see high rates of that, about 35% people planning to buy a new vehicle. We want to be able to maximize the technology that's available to us using video chat, Facebook Live, things of that nature, and certainly pre-recorded videos you can push out to your guests. Here's another example. Lexus of Henderson and Las Vegas moved to a digital retail sales model. They use video conferencing to connect with guests remotely and also to show all of their features. And they've been very successful in their sales. We know when we look at Lexus of Omaha and Lincoln, they've been able to deliver test drive vehicles of choice to guests, obviously fully sanitized. And what's nice is they let people keep the car for 24 hours. Trade-in is appraised right there on the spot. So it's a very smart way to use the experience of being in there, given to them in their home with touchless service, as we know. We know that when you're talking to people online and people are doing their research, it's estimated that we only have about 2.7 seconds to capture attention. So as we move to online presence, we want to be sure that we put our best benefits up front that are most relevant to the customers and to our guests, particularly in the sales opportunity. I want to suggest that these at-home test drives are a great way to get people to experience the vehicle. Obviously, we're moving into the times with our new vehicles. It's going to be a great way to give people opportunities to drive and experience the car at home, as opposed to having to come to the dealership to do that. Now, as I mentioned, besides the experience of the sales experience, we also want to focus on communications. Never before have social and digital communications been as important as they are now. You know, it's a critical way to communicate. As we know, people expect it. Everybody's become accustomed to it. We recommend that you move your new owner orientations online, that you host Zoom service events. I know that when the gentleman serviced my vehicle yesterday, he said, would you like me to FaceTime you before you come back to get your vehicle if you have any questions or you want to see the vehicle? And I said, no, that's not necessary, but it was a nice offer. And then it's critical to start to create more digital content using YouTube, IGT, Instagram television. Some of you may be using TikTok. These are ways to be able to get your content out to people, and particularly about new car features and products. This is an opportunity to really maximize your digital presence and personalize the experience. So we do know that in the case of Lexus of Henderson, they have done a TikTok video. We have the connection to it. You have to have the TikTok app, but we'll put in the chat box the URL address to get to it. It's an interesting way. TikTok goes after a much younger audience. There are some controversy around it, so you'll want to check in with your folks about the use of it. Instagram Live, though, is a great way to do this, and Instagram TV. Fresno, they rolled out a 15-second and 5-second radio spots promoting their touchless transactions, and they have a 30-second spot they put on their YouTube channel that demonstrates their 3-step process to buying a car online. Some of us may think it's obvious because we buy many things online, but for some of the our guests, they haven't done it before, particularly for a car. So this kind of video helps people know, okay, this is what I'm in for. I won't get stuck in the middle of the process. And then Fields Lexus built a YouTube video that shows all the cleaning precautions and the open parts of their business, as well as their pickup and delivery offerings. Another way to communicate with people. I will say this as a communications person in this era, they cannot over communicate. I think sometimes when we're at the dealership, we feel like, well, we've told people, we sent an email, it's on our website. But there are many, many different ways people touch, and they need more frequency. So feel free to over message, if you will, not by sending people to too many messages, but giving them access to it on other Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. Now let's talk a little bit about operations and the health and safety concerns. I think some of this may be self-evident to you, but we wanted to make sure that we covered it. It's important to have disposable masks and gloves someplace available. I saw those as soon as I walked into the service department. They were available. Sanitizer was on the counter when I went to the cashier to show her my license for the loaner car. There was all the doors were open, which was great. So there was a lot of air coming in. I mentioned the vehicle wipe down that I saw. In the lounge and refreshment, you can replace refreshments with maybe a Starbucks order or gift card. That's certainly something that's a nice gift to people. Also having packaged food or even goodie bags that have a sanitizer in them with your brand name on it. A nice way to show appreciation and still create that in-home experience as we treat people as if they were a guest in our home. And then I think it's important to tie your health and safety efforts and your community organization support to rewards. We're going to talk about this a little later in the webinar, but we have tested over time giving money to a charity and as an incentive, bringing people into the dealership to get a 10% off on their service or making a donation to a charity on their behalf. In this environment that we're dealing with, it's a nice way to say, we understand our schools are having trouble. We're making a donation on your behalf when you come in for service. So showing your heart and demonstrating that in this era is going to be very important. We also know that among luxury shoppers, they're more likely to purchase if they find a deal that they feel is so special and something that they cannot refuse, something that they haven't been able to experience before. So you've got to reassure to make sure you're giving them a kind of special experience. And we have some examples that we found in articles that we're going to put in the chat room. Danielle and Gia, I know you're putting those up as we speak. So now let's turn to what we know are some of our tenets of the Lexus difference. Trust and respect. We think that, we have opportunities to establish trust and respect now with our associates and with our guests. Important way to convey care and concern. Those of you who have great relationships with your guests, even if they're not in the market for purchasing a vehicle, it's great to touch base to see how they are doing and their family is doing. Communications, really important to have personal follow-up in addition to the digital outreach. Phone calls and just checking in with people, very important, particularly when they're coming in for service. If they request it, of course, texting is always an option, but that human touch, particularly saying thank you, critical. And then in the community area, we always have talked about establishing meaningful connections to community. So many of the dealers go out of their way to build relationships with golf tournaments and other events. We like to see a focus on organizations in the community that are creating an opportunity for real change in the community. And many dealerships are doing that. Ray Chitana Lexus sold 115 new vehicles in April. A great example. And what they did is they went out of their way to make the remote work much more efficiently for their employees. They were responsive to any leads that came in online. And then they capitalized on their ongoing relationships with the community and individuals. They kept up timely communication with the guests online. They made phone calls. They had social media showcasing their health and safety precautions. And despite how bad things have been, they were able to sell 115 cars. So hats off to them. It's really an example of reaching out and communicating. Now, we'd like to feature one of the things we did in this early part of this year that was a great example of how to communicate and reach out to your own community. And this involved communicating to guests and prospects. This was the Lexus book drive. And this was started in 2019 and ran in 2020. We had over 100 of you Lexus dealerships involved. Thank you very much. We asked people to bring in new and gently used books for kids up to the age of 8. And across the country, we saw amazing levels of participation. Several of the dealerships have a discount as a result of if you brought in books, you got a discount on your dealership. We're going to share with you some ROI on that in a few minutes. But what was marvelous was we had over 23,000 books that were collected and delivered to over 100 local charities. And what happened is, in many cases, the local dealership associates went and delivered those books to a local school or a nonprofit organization working with young children. What that meant is they captured images for social media. The associates got involved. It was a great way to show community engagement. And then everybody used the hashtag Lexus Book Drive, so we got thousands of impressions from that. And the dealerships who offered those discounts, as I mentioned, they got significant ROI. We want to thank everyone for participating. It was amazing, and we really appreciate the engagement. We hope to do this in the future. Here's some examples. We titled our program Driving Literacy. And here you see examples of the associates in the dealership giving away the books. You can see all the books. Henderson and Las Vegas did an amazing job. There were videos. In some cases, the general manager read the books, took books to the actual location and then read to children the books. We had one author who had 2,000 books that were he had published, and he donated it through the dealership. We made sure those got to families and children. It was a wonderful example of Lexus Care, and we're very proud of all the work that you all did. Thank you so much for doing this. It's a great example of reaching out. Now let's talk about that ROI example that I mentioned. I think this is important for people to realize that there's a real opportunity to get some return on investment. When we look at and the reason we're emphasizing this is we want to encourage you to find ways to support your local communities to gain visibility and goodwill among your guests and your prospects, especially as we move into our new vehicles coming into the market. So one of the things that we know is important is being able to recognize people in the community, supporting the essential workers. Thank you notes, gift baskets to guests who are essential workers, offering reduced cost cleaning and sanitizing for folks who are essential workers. They can come into your dealership and get a free car wash and a sanitizing. And then, of course, delivering care packages to frontline workers. At Dolan Lexus, they deliver coffee and other refreshments in the morning to the local healthcare workers. They were out there in front of a hospital doing that. A great way to show thank you and take pictures of that. At Crown Lexus, they offered all the essential workers who came in complimentary sanitation services on their vehicles. So a nice way to do a statement into your community and gain visibility, again, to promote on social media. Works extremely well. Now, when we talk about we'll go to the next slide. Providing space for local or national organizations is also a possibility. Many of you have been doing that, where you have to follow your local regulations, and many of you have large spaces in the showroom. If people wanted to use the space and social distance, for instance, for a board meeting or a local event, that's something to think about. At Lexus of Orlando hosted a Red Cross blood drive with the COVID-19 antibody testing free for people. A very nice way to bring people into the dealership parking lot. Sheehy of Annapolis hosted a blood drive because there was a great need in their community. And the next one is going to offer service discounts to people who donate blood. So a nice way to increase their return on investment. Before I leave this slide, I want to talk about return on investment. When we did the book drive, we were able to work with Affinitive. They had an email program, of course, to be able to reach out to people with a 10% discount on service. They did it with 6 dealerships, and we were happy to see the response rates were as high as 6.72%. And in total, the customer pay RO revenue was over $500,000 across the 6. A relatively small investment. We know Tulsa was involved and got over $100,000 in customer pay revenue. So we do see a return on investment at these events where there's, besides the goodwill that you gain and the visibility for your brand. We'll go to the next slide now. So another way to support people in your community is to assist the schools with their online efforts. I'm sure many of you have been reading about the fact that some of the schools don't have all the resources. So giving them a hotspot or a Zoom, professional Zoom conferencing gift is a nice way to say you're supporting a school in your community. And some of the dealerships we know actually ask their guests if there's a school they'd like to support or there's someone they want to support in their community. So an important way to show that your guests that you're actually helping in the community. And then, as I mentioned, sponsoring Wi-Fi hotspots or hosting a fundraiser for school supplies. We all know we're moving toward start of some form of school, and there are a lot of young people who don't have the right supplies. Many of the dealerships have done packing of backpacks. There may be ways to give materials to schools and donate during this period. There's always an opportunity to do drives similar to our book drive, where people bring something in and then it is distributed to people in the community. Here are a few recommendations of things that can be done. And Lexus of Akron partnered with their local children's hospital for pickup and delivery for service of the employees, which I think is a great way of helping people get their vehicles serviced. O'Brien Lexus of Peoria created a GoFundMe page to raise money for the local restaurants because they knew those restaurant workers were having a hard time. Great examples of showing the heart of the dealership and getting the community to understand your level of commitment. In the case of O'Brien, they're up to raising $6,000, and they've been ordering food from the local restaurants, sending it to local hospitals and some of the urgent care facilities in Peoria to support the workers. Nice demonstrations of real genuine care.
Wonderful. Now, and Renee, this is Danielle. Before we leave this slide, I just wanted to note that Gia has posted an article in the chat function here on the right side of your screen. If you want to take a look at that, it's posted on the press room for Lexus.com. These are just a snapshot of all the great things that I know that dealerships are doing. And so if you want a deeper look into some of these stories and some others, we encourage you to go and look there for inspiration. And thank you again for all the dealers doing it.
Great idea, Danielle. I think the other thing I will mention is this webinar is available. We record it. It'll be available to you also in case you want to share it with anyone or you want to listen to it as a podcast. But absolutely. Now I'd like to—
You're welcome to, and just don't forget, as a quick reminder, if the chat can also be used for any questions, and we can have a live FAQ Q&A after each topic session here.
Yeah, we're happy to answer any questions. We moved through this fairly quickly to be thoughtful about your time, but we're open to answering questions or giving you more details. Now I want to turn this over to Cecilia Garcia. She is a senior social media analyst. She's been on our webinar before. Many of you know her as a social media maven. And she's going to be talking about a new program sponsored by headquarters, relatively new, called Lexus Simple Feed. Cecilia, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Renee, and hi to everybody. I'm really happy to be here to promote this new program. It's a free program for all our Lexus dealers, and I really encourage you all to enroll if you haven't already. So I'll keep it really short and sweet. So this program, basically what it is it's a tool that pulls our social media content from the national Lexus social pages. It pulls it, and then it publishes that same content to our Lexus dealer social media pages, whichever ones are enrolled and connected to the program. This replaces our previous tool, which was Social Dealer, and many of you may recall this program. There was a fee associated with that tool. The awesome and exciting part of this new program is that it's completely free for all our dealers. So again, I really encourage you all to enroll, and it's really easy, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, so we can move on to the next slide. And these here are two examples of the type of content that you can expect on your social media pages when you enroll. And there's lots and lots of variety of the type of content that we're going to be posting and that we post to your pages. It's video, it's imagery, it's GIFs. So we like to keep a really nice variety and mix of engaging content for your audience. So, you know, product reveals, as you can see on the left, that's the recent IS that was just revealed a bit ago. So we have that type of content. We have events, you know, if we're at an auto show, we're at a lifestyle event, Amgen, you know, a golf tournament, you can expect to see that type of content come through, as well as evergreen product images and GIFs and video, and then also, you know, genuine Lexus accessories, Lexus Financial Services. It's just a really, really good mix of the different types of content that you can expect. And then as well, you can see on the right that those images are actually user generated. We call that UGC. So basically, we go out there and we search our hashtags. As you can see, we hashtag look at my Lexus, and we promote that hashtag to our followers so that they can post pictures of their Lexus and themselves together. And then we'll go into the hashtag and reach out to them directly and ask for permission to use their content. So you'll be able to see that as well. And it's a really nice way to, you know, get familiar with your audience, see who's driving your vehicles, and show them love on your pages. And then it's just a really nice touch for your audience to see that you're showing love right back. So again, lots of variety. And then this slide here is, like I said, it's really, really easy to register. It just takes a few minutes. We actually have a document that we can probably provide in the chat. I know we have the FAQ, but we also have an enrollment how-to, and it's really cool because it has clickable links, so you can go directly to where you need to go to enroll. Again, it takes a few minutes. So the content will be published to your Facebook, to your Twitter. For Instagram, it's a little different, and that's only because there's a restriction with the Instagram platform. So the content won't publish to your Instagram if you have your settings to auto publish. You actually have to download the Lexus Simple Feed app, and then you go in there and just hit publish. The really cool thing about the content is that you can have it to auto publish, you know, set it and forget it, or you can change the settings so that you can go in there and edit the content yourself. Maybe you don't want to post about Lexus Financial Services. Maybe you don't want to post about racing. Maybe you want to modify the copy. Maybe you want to personalize the copy, add your own hashtags. You can definitely do that. Another cool thing about the platform is that when you go into the program, you can actually get metrics on how the content is performing. You can pull reports, so you're able to see how what types of content are performing versus the other types of content. So that's really, really cool. And then you can also engage with your audience through the tool. That's pretty much it. It's really simple. Like I said, we really encourage all dealers to enroll. It's a nice supplement to what you're already doing on social. And again, it's cool because it's timely content, and it's coming from corporate. So we know it's tested, and it's going to work. And so again, highly encourage you all to join. If you have any questions, please reach out to your e-commerce manager, your area manager, or me directly. My name is Cecilia Garcia. Thank you all.
Thank you, Cecilia. We actually have a couple questions that just came in, and I think you may have touched upon it, but just for some clarity, wondering from an analytics standpoint, I know you said that you can track some things through the app, but does it allow to manage analytics, and can you track or search hashtags with Simple Feed?
With Simple Feed, you can only see the metrics on the content that you're posting. So it's not a platform to go in and publish your very own content and track that. You can track what we're pushing out to your pages. As far as the hashtag, that's not something that we have available within the tool.
Okay. And I think that was our questions for social, but this is all very helpful, very exciting, and this is, of course, a free tool, so really no reason not to use it, and it's completely branded, approved Lexus content.
Cecilia, can I just underscore something you talked about? This is Renee. Consumer generated content, really valuable. We have seen across the country, some of the dealers post when somebody buys a new vehicle and they're so excited about it, the picture of their car and them with their vehicle. It's great to incentivize that. And in some cases, associates who are driving a new Lexus will do images, for instance, a beautiful sunset with their Lexus in front of it, or when they get a new pet, right? And the pet in front, it was sitting with them in the vehicle. Great ways to get visibility in your social media channel, knowing that the content's been vetted. Obviously, you want to look at it, but it's a great way to get more casual, intimate pictures. And we see in many categories, this is a great way to help people say, oh, I can see myself in that picture. Would you agree?
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's really cool to share your your followers' content. I mean, they want the love, and it also encourages them to want to share more of their, or post more, right, with their Lexus vehicle. And the really cool thing about that is that when you promote the hashtag, or when you encourage your followers to post content with your vehicle, then you're able to go back and use that content later for other things. Like you said, sometimes people post themselves in their vehicle with their puppy or their dog, and we can go ahead and use that later for National Puppy Day, right? So when you show love to your audience, that just lets them know that, okay, you know what, I can post too, and they might reach out to me and share my content as well. They love it. They never say no. So again, it's
You're
they
right.
never say no.
Well, and
it's just genuine content. So it's a nice break from the curated professional photography that you'll see on a typical page.
That's right. And when I think about the Lexus television, where will you go, right? Now, you can take adventure rides in your vehicle, you go out into nature, you can go hiking, new places to visit. So people sharing pictures of where they're going, and again, a sunset or a sunrise they see, or what they're doing with their vehicle. Great opportunity for people to share. And as you said, they love to share the love, and they love their vehicle. It's a great way to talk about their experience. So I'm glad you brought that up. And I love this Lexus Simple Feed as a free resource for good content, always valuable content, particularly about the new vehicles, that can be interspersed with the local content that the dealership may be generating with their own guests and associates. So perfect.
And I just wanted to add one more thing. And the really cool thing about this content is that whether you end up using the content or not, you're able to see what we're posting. And this might encourage you or spark some ideas of your own for your very own audience. Like Renee said, people, we're asking, where will you go next? People also just love to hang out in their vehicle. I mean, these cars have, shiatsu massage, or, you could listen to a relaxing podcast. You can have some time alone. You're locked up in your house. You can go out to your car and just sit there and relax. So there's just a lot of different ideas that, you might get just from seeing the content come through, whether, again, you decide to publish it or not. So again, we hope you can all enroll.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cecilia. That was
We have a few more questions that just popped in actually for social media. It says, regarding Lexus Simple Feed, can the copy only be modified on the app? This individual, it seems, has had some trouble finding the settings on the desktop version, so didn't know if you had some guidance there.
Oh, no, yeah, it should be able to be within the app. And if they can, please reach out to me directly, and I'll help them with that. We work directly with Simple Feed, the owner of the company, and he's very responsive, very wonderful to work with. So we can help you out with that. If you're having some issues, just please shoot me an email and we'll take care of it.
Wonderful. And then we do have one other that just came in. It said, can a dealer post content if they support an event, for example, like an LDA supported event?
Can the dealer post it?
I'm assuming through the app, but as you were indicating earlier, it's content that's coming from Lexus headquarters, not the other way around.
That's correct. So it's only going to be the content, the content that's going to be pushed out through Simple Feed is the content that's coming from our national pages, which also includes, Lexus Design Awards and things like that. But an actual, like, sorry, that's not LDA, the LDA you're talking about. An actual area event, we typically don't post stuff like that. But again, the content that's going to go through the platform is only the content that we're posting. It if the dealer wants to post their own content, it wouldn't be through the tool.
Right. So it could be supplemented or modified.
That's correct.
But otherwise, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. I think that answers the questions here, and that's what we have wrapped up for social. So without further ado, I know that we had a slide dedicated for questions, but we left your contact information up there because really the answer to a lot of the social here is reaching out to you directly, Cecilia. So thank you very much being our in-house Lexus social media guru and go-to.
Yeah, definitely. And if anyone has any questions about social, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to help, and I'm here to support.
Wonderful. We appreciate it. Well, thanks so much for being on our call today and answering all these wonderful questions. We had just one other question in general come through from some of the topics we touched upon. So Renee, this may be over to you, but somebody was wondering if there were more examples or actions to take of what a event, so to speak, might look like, whether it's outside, supporting local businesses, things like that. I know that we talked about a few. Just wondering what that might look like, because they do want to support local businesses, but because there's some difficulty with the given environment, wondering what that might look like from a dealership standpoint.
Oh, yeah, what we would recommend is you host as many events as you can in the parking lot or right in front of and move the vehicles outside. People are very accustomed now to social distancing in that kind of an environment. And for the next few months where the weather is good for everyone, we know it's a lot safer outside. I will tell you also, when we've done outside events in the past, like our pet events, we get a lot more attention, right? People drive by and they see all the activity. You put up a large tent, you have banners flying, people see other people there, the vehicles are out. So I'd recommend doing those events outdoors in the parking lot in front of the dealership. And certainly people can walk in, but it gives you a lot more freedom, and it's perceptually safer for people. That's probably going to continue in the data that we've been seeing. We've been working with the Los Angeles Department of Public Health, so we get access to a lot of the doctor's information, and being outdoors is really the safest place when you're doing these kinds of events. The other thing I would suggest is reaching out to the local community organizations you already work with. Many of them are struggling, and offering them the opportunity to host an event at the dealership and brainstorming with them. One of the things that we have seen done in the past that's been very successful is holding like a volunteer fair, where community-based organizations each have a table, and there's probably only one person, and then people stand 6 feet apart. They have a mask on, but they have paper that explains how you can volunteer at their organization. These are good for young people. And nowadays, there's volunteer opportunities from home, right? Helping with their database, creating social media for a nonprofit organization, things of that nature. So a volunteer fair is a good way to bring people in. That's something you can do with multiple community-based organizations. And as I suggested, brainstorming with them, because they are all looking for new ways to create awareness of what they do, and obviously donations. And the third area would be getting people as volunteers. And the last one I will mention is the Red Cross. You know, for free, or a modest amount of money, the Red Cross will come and bring a blood mobile to your parking lot. They will help you publicize a blood drive. It's a great way to get visibility and give back to the community. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, those are a lot of great points. I think to tack on to what you were saying, Renee, not only the, safely in person outdoors, following all the protocol, but digitally events, there's a lot more ways that you can host things digitally, fundraisers, things like that, and tying it back to reaching out first to those community-based organizations, to the partners that you're used to working with, or some of the organizations you might see struggling, ask them what they need. And then the brainstorming session can commence and, put great minds together to figure that out. So
Danielle, that actually leads to one last thing, and we didn't really touch on this in the earlier part, but in the past, when we've worked with the Lexus Difference, one of the issues that's come up is how do we recruit people into our dealership as associates, women and people of color. We know we want to reflect our own community. We want those people to join us as salespeople, as service people. And as we move into the summer and young people coming into the market, one of the things to consider is doing a Zoom panel where you have 2 women or other associates in your organization talk about what it's like to work at the dealership, and to encourage people to think about a job in the automotive arena. As we know, a lot of people think of it as kind of a man's world, but we know when we talk to women working as successfully as associates, they're thrilled to be in the environment, and they see the dealership as a great family and a place for them to grow their careers. This usually isn't conveyed to young people in high school or college. So a Zoom panel and discussion is a way to start to share that. And again, local colleges would be interested in doing that and would help you with the outreach. If you want to talk about any of these things further, we're more than happy to set up a phone call and give you some guidance and what could be done and what the panel questions could be, how it could be arranged. But it's just another area to show outreach into the community and take advantage, as you said, of the digital aspects of communication.
Right, that's an excellent point. Hosting online events is, really something that's so strong, and we have a lot of success story one sheets and how-tos on Lexus Learn. So be sure to check that out there. But of course, the Lexus Difference team here, Fraser Communications, we are available for consult to help that set up. Definitely something that we've seen success in the past, and it can move online and digitally, and technology is here to help. So wonderful. Okay, I think with that, I'm just checking to see if we have any other questions coming in. Reminder that if you can reach out to us or cover other specific topics. If there's anything relevant or something that you are particularly requesting assistance with or want to know more information about, we have our expert team researchers, and we're happy to address relevant topics that you want to know more about. So send it our way. You can put the comments in the chat box here, of course, my email address, or always reply to the invites that come out or the newsletter. All my information is posted everywhere. So
Danielle,
thank you,
want to
everybody.
just move to the last slide about the program updates?
Exactly, you're right. So I was just shifting over to program updates here as we wrap up the webinar. Just a reminder here, all resources on Lexus Learn, that includes our newsletters. I mentioned the archives earlier. This session will be recorded along with the rest and then added to our YouTube playlist, so you can go back in time and take a look at all of those. We also have the 2019 dealer contest highlight video that has been posted to Lexus Learn. So we encourage you to check that out. It's about it's under 10 minutes or so, but really heartwarming and a nice collaboration to see all the wonderful things that dealerships are doing to elevate the guest experience. And we look forward to curating even more of those stories in the coming year. And then just as we wrap this up here, our next webinar, if you mark your calendars, is Wednesday, September 16th. So we look forward to seeing you again there. Any closing remarks, Renee?
No, I just want to thank everyone, and let's get back to business, right? We're going to make this a great year. Despite COVID-19, thank you all for listening, and we'll look forward to seeing you in September. Have a great day, everyone.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.